All right, it's 11:01.
Do this on a phone.
Um,
Trying to mute
while
myself.
we wait, so we're still providing some value. Emily, you had a listing go live and you got it under
For it.
contract. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, the my Heartland, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even think of my timeline anymore. Last week I think we signed docs on Tuesday, and it's my massage therapist. Been working her since pretty much January, February to sign and actually do it. She kept going back and forth. Finally did it Tuesday. Did open house. Marcia and Kim were there on Saturday. We did get an offer on Friday, the first day of actual showings. And it was a great offer, but I decided I wanted a little bit more for my clients because they negotiated, they came back at us, and we finally accepted and got them. Do you want me to tell them the deal?
No. It's great. I love the timeline. I love your persistence in getting the listing up. And I love that you opened up the open house to kind of let some newer agents shadow and share. That's huge in culture, and I think it benefits everyone. Let me ask you that you received an offer on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a similar situation a few weeks ago on the other side, on the buy side. We submitted an offer right away. Did they put a quick timeline that they needed a response by? And how did you decide to press them a little bit rather than just accepting it? Did you have a lot of showings lined up? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I didn't have an overwhelming, I felt like a specific type of house. It's not a cookie cutter. It had the characters, 1980s style.
Yeah.
It was going to be for a specific buyer, but so I had 7 showings on Friday, and then Saturday was the open house, and I only had 1 more for Sunday. So I didn't actually have too many, but I had created for my feedback form a specific one, not just the general questions. And one of them was does your client want this? And one of them was just a funny one, but it was the highest rating saying, heck yeah, we want this house bad. Well, she happened to put that, and I said, okay. And then the buyer actually showed up at our open house. I got to meet them and saw how interested she really was. I knew she didn't want to lose this house. And that kind of told me right there, we have a little bit of leverage. They did go over ask already, but my clients, again, in this market, they thought they were going to get more than that. I said, and then they started talking about closing fees and everything. I said, well, let me see what I can do. So we went back and I actually got them to cover some of the closing fees for my client, along with upping their appraisal guarantee. They were at 11,000. We got them up to 13. So it's a little bit more as well. So, and a lot of free occupancy that we got added.
Awesome.
So we just decided, I knew how bad she wanted it. So let's go for it.
One of the things that we're probably going to see a lag on is buyers keen to a little bit of a softening. And what I mean by that is buyers that are in the market right now that have been competing have been conditioned that they have to automatically come in very strong or be willing to go even a little bit higher. I think it's interesting. Like you said, you were looking at the amount of showings that you had scheduled on the home thinking, wow, this might not be a highest and best situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? But how can I, act as if it is, right? You don't have to, it's not about lying or anything like that. It's about what does your client really want? Is the buyer willing to do, and helping to bridge that gap. I don't care if you have 10 offers or 1 offer. If it's a great offer for everyone involved, wonderful, right? But you have to know that. And some buyers have been hesitant about writing an offer right when they see a home because they just think it's going to go into highest and best. I would urge you, just like Emily did, to say, hey, well, what's it going to take to get this done? Don't necessarily wait around, Mr. Buyer. I don't have any offers currently, but I have lots of showings scheduled. So, if you give us something with my sellers are looking for, we could probably wrap this up, right? There's a way to say that without saying, I don't have anything, so just write an offer, right? So I want to give you guys an opportunity today. By a show of hands, do you want to do scripts around prospecting, circle prospecting specifically, an open house, or do you want to do listing presentation?
Listing.
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 All right. We're gonna do a listing. All right. Took the direct. I'm gonna share my screen. This is directly from Ignite. Ignite is a. Whoops, I think I did that wrong. Can you guys see my KW Ignite listing?
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, you can. Okay. Well, then I didn't do it wrong. So Ignite is probably not a class any of you have attended through the KW system. Launch is the very first one, which we've kind of folded into our coaching program. And then Ignite is something that market centers would do yearly or twice a year, typically taught by members of the ALC. And they're just kind of refresher classes. So Launch would be the basics, and Ignite would be each Ignite session would be focused on something regarding listings, buyers, open houses, those kinds of things. So usually 2.5 hours long. We have not hosted Launch. We've all our Ignite rather. We've actually repackaged it a few times to the Market Center, but the content is still typically the same, right? And this is directly from Ignite. It's the listing scripts and presentation, and I want to go through this because what I've heard from many of you guys is that, listen, I'm getting better at CMAs, right? I feel more comfortable comping a home. I feel good about the process. I'm following a checklist of what to do when I get a listing. But when I go in to the appointment with the listing paperwork, that's where I'm a little iffy, right? I don't necessarily follow a cadence of a script. And I don't personally always do that, right? But I've been doing it long enough where I have this script where I've kind of internalized it. And right, Andrea, a few other people that are here, we talked yesterday real briefly about why scripts are necessary, right? Why are scripts necessary, guys? Open dialogue for anyone.
Build confidence.
Scripts build confidence. Sarah, how do they build confidence specifically?
Well, I mean, for me personally, it's just something this was totally out of my realm. Sales was not my strong suit. And I think that was something that hindered me for a long time in getting into this business. So having that like to practice with, just kind of trying to anticipate what questions and or objections are going to come up so you can be prepared.
Yeah.
This will build confidence in any meeting.
Yeah, no, great answer. I used to think sales was convincing someone to buy something that they didn't want to buy. It's not. And in our world, we don't convince someone to do something that they don't want, right? The way sales is translated to real estate is by uncovering objections and asking questions to deliver what someone wants or needs, right? So when we have scripts, when we internalize scripts and we memorize scripts, right, it gives us the confidence to know what we're going to say, and importantly, allows us to listen to what those clients are saying, because we're not focused on what we're going to say next. You ever in a situation where you're focused on what you're going to say next rather than truly listening to what they're saying at the moment?
Yes.
Andrea, it was very quick. Yes. Right. When you know scripts, it gives you confidence. It allows you to know what you're going to say, and allows you to keep on track and make sure that you hit on the points that you want. So I'm big on scripts. I've internalized many of them. It can be an objection handling script as well, but I don't think you can practice too much on these. And I think if you dedicate a part of your day each day to focus on your scripts, it's going to make your prospecting easier and more successful. It's going to make your appointments go easier and more successful. It's going to make your objection handling techniques even better. You're going to be able to keep deals together and keep clients satisfied, improve your negotiations with other agents, right? I was role playing with Carson the other day. We were just kind of role playing what he was going to say to another agent regarding his buyer's inspection results, right? So it's all scripts, right? So when we talk about a listing presentation, that's like the ultimate script, right? I know this freaked me out when I first started in real estate. This was like terrifying to me because I felt like I had everything, but I was going into someone's home and I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know what they were going to say, what they were going to ask. I didn't know what to say, right? And at the end, I remember it being wrapped up, but I didn't know how to end it, right? Because I just felt like, okay, thanks, bye, right? So this script presentation, this is in our shared drive, just like everything else is. This is in our shared drive. It's titled Listing Presentation Script. Does everyone know where the coaching drive is? Okay. If you don't, sidebar, feel comfortable, let me know. But my goal is to constantly put some more and more things in there. And that goes for you guys as well. If you come across something, you see something, let's put it in there. I think it can benefit everyone. Could things get lost in the Facebook stream, right? But in here, agents I know utilize it, especially new agents. So this is the KW listing presentation. And this, if you don't have a process, this gives you a framework for creating one. Okay.
What
So let's go through.
folder did you say this was in?
So in the coaching drive,
Yeah.
if you could, you see my screen. It says KWA Coaching Access. It has all these folders in there, right? And one of them is scripts and objection handling techniques. It's a folder, and within that folder are all these different scripts and files of scripts. And this one specifically is called Listing Presentation Script.
Mine just looked different. It wasn't a list. Was it scripting calls?
No, it's the one right after that. Do you have a folder
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right after that?
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Now I want you guys to utilize this and to go in there, and there's a lot of great resources there. So listing presentation script. The first thing it starts with, does someone want to read that who's in front of a screen? What's the first thing say? Anyone?
There, 1 second.
It's okay.
Discuss your motivation for selling.
Yes, bullet point 1. I should have been more clear. Sorry. It says the very beginning, review the pre-listing package you left with your seller. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but a pre-listing package is what? What might you use for a pre-listing package? Or if you don't know what that is, that's okay too. No judgment. I want to make sure that I know when we talk about it for a second.
Is the licking? Oh, excuse me. Didn't mean to say that. My apologies.
Don't do that. You might not get the listing.
Oh, you might.
All right.
The pre-listing packet
Mhm.
is the CMA. It's information about Keller Williams and myself. Is that right?
Almost. For
Okay.
me personally, what I do is my pre-listing package is essentially my listing package. It just is lacking the CMA. I do not send or drop off the CMA or go over it until I'm sitting in front of them with them.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to send my listing presentation ahead of time or drop it off because I want them to review it. And then when I come to their home, I want to ask them if they did review it. And if they did review it, great. Then I'm going to ask them what questions they have after reviewing it. If they didn't, I'm going to know that I'm going to have to go through it. Right.
Okay.
Yesterday. Yeah, Phil.
There's a pre-listing package in Coaching Drive, but it's a generic thing that Keller Williams has. That's what I use.
Yeah, and that's okay. It's just something, right? In Command, I know that a lot of people have been using the templates that are in Command to build out theirs, which I highly recommend. If you don't have anything, you can customize it. You can use it as is. Listen, no one knows whether you built it out or not, right? There's very, very few chances that there's going to be two listing agents that go to them and present them the same thing. So it gives you confidence to bring something or to have something like it does for me. Go and do that, right? And it can be a work in progress. I know mine is, right? So thanks for the suggestion, Phil. So my listing presentation, my pre-listing package, if you will, is going to be it's going to start about me, right? It's a little bit about my resume. Who am I? What I do and why, my commitments to them as a seller, as a client. It's going to include testimonials from previous clients that I have had. It's going to improve. It's going to kind of say the contract to close timeline or my way of doing things, and it's going to include my marketing plan. Emily you spent some time building out yours, and I sat down and got to see it. You did it for sellers, and you did another one, I believe, for buyers, right? I don't know if you do a separate one for each, but yeah, they looked amazing. What program did you build those, or where did you copy it from, or
Canva.
Canva? You did all yours in Canva. Awesome.
Yeah.
So don't, there's actually a lot of these in Pinterest. Again, the command has the one. Don't be paralyzed by not having something perfect to not have anything at all. So just have something. And again, you can improve it with time, but I know Emily's looks spectacular, and I'm sure she would be happy to share if you need some inspiration. So my pre-listing package, I'm going to drop off. If I don't have time to drop it off, I'm going to email it to them ahead of time. I'm going to say, in preparation for our listing appointment tomorrow, I'd like, wanted to send this over ahead of time. If you do have the chance, please feel free to review it. Then I'm going to bring it as well when I go to them. I'm going to typically have it on my computer. So I'm going to go in, we're sitting down, and I'm going to jump right into it. So did they have the opportunity to review the package? Some people are going to say yes. Some people are going to say no. This specifically says, if yes, and did you complete the questionnaire at the back? Do you have questions about anything that was presented? So what they're coaching or training about is having a seller questionnaire. Does anyone ever do this with a seller? Have you ever kind of fulfilled a questionnaire ahead of time?
Mm-mm.
No. I kind of do it as part of a pre-qualifying appointment, right? So if I don't like going into a listing appointment blind. I like to basically have questions, and I've kind of internalized the questions, but it is good, especially if you want to stay on track, to have a list of them. I think we have one in there. So it's called like a seller pre-qualifying checklist or a list. I think Rob had uploaded one in the past. So I think
Yeah, I have one printed out from when I very first started.
Okay, awesome. So there is one in there. It's asking questions like, how long have you lived there? What do you like about the home? What would you change? You're both trying to find their motivation for selling, right? Which is their why, as well as some more information about the home. So when you're going to do your CMA, you're not necessarily focused on how many, doing the wrong beds or bathrooms. You've asked them ahead of time. So in this regard, they're asking the seller to fill it out. I kind of do it ahead of time to make sure that I have the proper information. So I'm doing a CMA. But if not, let's say they didn't get a chance to review it, or you didn't get the opportunity to send it. Let's review the packet quickly before we move on. There's some questions at the end for you to answer. We've got 6 goals for today's meeting. Quickly run through the 6 goals. What are the 6 goals? Does someone want to read those for me? Number 1.
Discuss your motivation for selling.
This is huge, guys. Don't skip over this. Don't just jump into what the house is worth and what you could sell it for and how you'll sell it. If their why isn't strong enough, you may be wasting your time, or you may not be saying the right things, right? If I go into a listing presentation and they're just like, oh, I'm just curious what it's worth, that might not be a great use of my time. I want you guys to go on listing appointments with motivated sellers, okay? So understanding their motivation for selling is super important. It's also going to be super important and relevant while you're going through that process. So when they decide to throw in the towel or throw their hands up or say they're frustrated, you can revisit their why, that they want to be on that beach, that they want to have a single story or a master on the main floor, that they want to have less expenses, or that they need more space. They need that extra bathroom for their kids, bigger yard, whatever it is. Okay. Make sure you don't skip over this. Number 2, can someone else read?
Define your 10 plus experience expectations.
Okay. Number 3.
Review what you can expect from Keller Williams and me.
Okay. This is a great one. If you're sitting here saying, Matt, I don't have a huge resume. I don't have years of experience, right? I want you to sell the office, sell yourself, sell your position in coaching, sell the company, right? Number 4.
Explain the selling process from listing to closing.
Okay, so this is quickly the contract to close. And you don't always have to get in the weeds with this. Sandy yesterday challenged you. Sandy was visiting a MAPS coach, a former MAPS coach, and she's traveling the country right now. And she presented to some of us in the office, and she said, you should be able to do your listing presentation in 30 minutes. Now, I've never done a listing presentation in 30 minutes because I like to talk and I probably ask a lot of questions and I build rapport and we have this long conversation. But I'm going also on listing presentations oftentimes with people in my sphere and that I'm referred to. If I needed to, and I bust through the bullet points, I could probably do it in 30 minutes, right? So I don't want you to get too far in the weeds. Number 5,
Review the 3 factors that get your home sold.
review the 3 factors that get your home sold. Number 6,
Decide to work together.
decide to work together. So I'm going to go over all these 6 and at the end we're gonna decide, are we gonna work together or not? And that's okay. It says about goal number 6. Let me explain that so we can expect one of the 3 outcomes from our meeting. This is a really bold statement, but I like it. At the end of this meeting, Mr. Seller, one of 3 things is going to happen. You may list your home with me, and that would be great. You may not list your home with me, and to be honest, that wouldn't be so great for me. Or lastly, I may be unable to take the listing. Right? It doesn't have the script here, but what if, what do you think someone might say if you said I may be unable to take the listing? Do you think a seller would be taken aback a little bit by that? Right? What do you think they mean by that? Or what is the script that you would say if a seller said, what do you mean unable to take the listing?
I think I would say, well, it would all depend on how well we would work together, which would determine whether or not I would take the listing.
Okay. Yeah. Does someone else want to piggyback on what Andrea just said?
On top of that, I might just say that you have some different circumstances I'm not used to working with, and I may not be the best fit for you and can refer you to somebody that I know would work best.
That sounds good too.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So it's important for me that we have alignment and what our expectations are working with together, right? If I'm going to be completely honest with you and transparent, and it's important for me that you are the same. So if we're not in agreement in terms of price or in terms of how we go about the process, or you have expectations that I know that I'm going to be unable to deliver, I want your permission for me to be able to say so, right? Because I want this experience. I don't want to just sell your home, right? I want to create a great relationship with you and I want to have success. So if your idea of success is different than mine, I'll share that with you. Okay. And conversely, if you don't think that I'm going to be able to do the job, right, I want you to be able to feel safe to tell me that. Okay. You're giving them permission. And I think this is very, depending on the type of salesperson you are, this is very disarming for people to give them permission to basically say you are or you are not the right fit for us. Okay. But at the same time, you're also saying not every client's the right fit for me either. Ask this after every statement or everything you present. Is that fair? What is that simple line? Is that fair? With a question mark at the end. What is that?
Is that a tie down?
It's a tie down. Absolutely, Phil. Does that make sense? Any questions? Is that fair? Those are all tie downs. You're getting buy-in. It needs to be communicative. Awesome. Some rules of communication says, don't assume they already know something. They understand what you've told them, or they're done expressing their feeling or your opinion or feelings. Ask for clarification. I've straight up asked the seller who was looking at me a little funny, but it's saying they understood. I said, you know what? I'm sensing that maybe I didn't go over something clearly enough. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm dwelling on this. This doesn't make sense to me. Okay, great. Let's go over that again. Read the room. It's important, right? And if you know what I don't care for? I don't care for when I'm going to a listing appointment, everyone's like, yep. They're just saying yes to everything and there's no objections and no questions. Right? I don't feel good about that. Because it just makes me think like they've either checked out or I'm not connecting with them on some level. So I really want that interaction. So slow it down to give them the opportunity to ask questions. Okay. Mr. Seller, in order to do a better job marketing your property, serving your needs, would you mind if I ask a few questions and take notes? I'd like you to have a great experience selling your home, and that begins with me being very clear on what your expectations are. So I would like to ask about that. Okay. So you're asking a question, you're getting permission, and then you're going through, the questions that you're going to ask. Have they ever sold a home? That's a big one, right? If someone's never sold a home, there's things that you have to go over that you might not go over. If someone's like, yeah, we've sold 10 properties. But at the same time, if they've sold 10 properties, don't assume that they know everything, right? Or their experiences are going to be, the same. But it's opportunity to ask a lot of questions. For me, when I go into a listing presentation, I've switched this up a little bit. I actually want to tour the home at the beginning and then go and sit down and kind of go over everything after I've learned about the home. Everybody's a little bit different. But what I'm doing when I'm going through the home after they've invited me in, I'm saying, before we sit down and kind of talk about this, what I would love is the opportunity to tour your home. So while we're walking through, I'd like you to point out anything to me that you think is worth noting, improvements that you've done, things that you haven't done that you would like to get around to, anything that you think might be beneficial to me helping to sell your home. And while they're doing that, I'm not saying yes or no or good or great. I'm just taking notes, right? And I'm asking questions. And I'm also looking for things in their home that are going to help me build rapport. So if I go into a bedroom and I see that they have an office, I'm going to say, oh, have you been working from home through this pandemic? What do you do for a living? If I see a U of M, helmet on a shelf, I'm going to say, oh, my dad went to U of M. We're a U of M family. I went to Western though, but blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking for things that are going to, specifically, I have kids. So if I go in a kid's room, they've got Pokemon, be like, my son's totally into Pokemon right now. Right. So whatever it is, that's what I'm looking for to build that rapport. Okay. The first thing it talks about is technology. This is straight out of Ignite. So you're going to have to tweak it to make sure that you feel comfortable with everything here. But we're talking about the transaction process online. So you're going to say things like, I use a very strong Keller Williams built CRM in transaction management. I use DocuSign to do all electronic digitally, right? All the things that are going to help. I use Showing Time. I use a SentryLock, right? All the things that are technology driven, because everyone talks about technology, but then they're kind of like gray area of what that really means. So talk about what that means to the client. Now, conversely, do you want to be talking about all that if your buyers are elderly? No, you have to be very careful. So know your audience. Okay. So don't harp on technology for 30 minutes if your buyers are just glazing over. I'd like to explain the selling process to you and what services I'll be providing at each phase along the way. Cover the 3 phases. Contract to close, servicing and marketing, offers and negotiation. Okay. I'm going to send you guys a link to mine because I have it structured a little bit differently. Again, there's no right, there's no wrong, but I just want to have you have something to keep on task to make sure that you're covering through. Contract to close. What is exactly that falls in terms of what you're saying is up to you. I'm going to start with. I'm actually going to talk about contract to close after I talk about kind of prepping and marketing. That's just me personally. Does anyone feel differently or agree? No? Come on. Thumbs up. Thank you. I'm going to talk about that's where I like this little thing. And this is going to be location and condition of your home. The first things that attract buyers and their agents. You can't change the location, but you can change the condition of your home so it's less appealing as possible, or it's as appealing as possible. I always say this: if it's okay with you and ask for permission, I'm going to point out some things about your home that I would suggest changing for the marketing and for the sale of the home, because the way you live in your home and the way you market it for sale are 2 different things, right? So for instance, I was at my neighbor's house last week for a listing opportunity. They wanted me to go through their home to give them ideas, right, of what to do to prep it. In their living room, they had a gigantic couch, and it's right smack in the middle of the living room facing the TV. And it works for them. That's how they live in the home, right? I imagine they just sprawl out on the couch and watch movies and TV together, but it completely messes up the flow of the home. So what I suggested is said, can we take this couch? Can we rotate it to put it along this wall? And can we move these two chairs here so that when you're facing that great room, you're not facing the back of a couch. You're facing, the carpet and open area. And I did it. I just, again, said it just like that in a way that I completely respected their home and the way they lived, but explained in the eyes of a buyer and the way it'll show in photographs why we needed it to do it that way. That's staging right there. So when people say, do you stage? Yes, I do. That doesn't mean I bring in some high priced person to come in and do the complete overhaul. I'm just going to come in, look at it without blinders on, right? Because that's what they have, is they live in that home. It's their home. I'm going to look at it through the perspective of an agent as well as a buyer to give you tips with the goal of only selling your home for more money in a quicker amount of time. Okay. After the condition, and I'm also going to talk about cleaning. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to ask for permission, but I'm going to say, listen, do you want, how, on a scale from 1 to 10, how honest do you want me to be? Most people are like, I want you to be a 10 because I really want to sell this house. Great. And I oftentimes don't offend by saying you need to clean your toilet, right? I might say the most important thing that I find above all is the cleanliness of the home. And that includes this, right? I've got a few, like my pet peeve things are light switches, vents, right? And like wiping down where door handles are. Because typically they're white doors and there's fingerprints and smudges on them. So I get a Lysol wipe and I wipe those down. Those are my pet peeve things. But it kind of creates this joke. And they might say, yeah, we need to do that. Okay, great. Make sure that's, I'll go through and I'll point out from my perspective if I see anything else. Okay, good. Right. You're developing a partnership. So don't think of it as, you're trying to be too hard on them or anything like that. Marketing the home is critical. That's where my expertise comes in. I'll review a comprehensive marketing plan with you in a moment. Don't be overwhelmed by this. You can use mine. It's all the things that oftentimes we already do, right? I was just talking to an agent about this and he was like, what about Zillow? What about realtor.com? The beautiful thing is when we list a home on the MLS, it spiders to all these different websites, right? Automatically. But they don't need to know that it happens automatically. They just need to know where you're going to market it. Right? That you're marketing it to other agents in your office of the largest real estate company in the world, that it's going on 300 and some odd websites, that you're going to do it on Facebook and Instagram and all these different things. That's all the marketing plan is. Okay. So don't be overwhelmed by this, but also don't commit to things that you're not going to do. Don't have in your marketing list that you're going to do a heavy mail campaign if you're not going to do it. Okay. And then we'll also discuss price. I don't jump into price until kind of the end because I've wanted to see the home. I always go into a listing appointment with a price range in mind, right? But as I'm going through the home, I'm seeing the condition, right? I'm seeing their furniture. I know the market. I know how it's going to show in photos. I'm going to dial in that dollar amount based on that range that I went into the home with. Okay. Buyers are attracted or distracted immediately by the condition of the home. Buyer's rate condition is the top 3 things they consider when choosing a home. These are all important to note, and you're going to pull these out of your script data bank in your head when you have to politely say you need to get your stuff together in order to sell the home, right? Because you can influence them, but you just have to tell them why. What's in it for them, right? We know staged homes that are clean are going to show better in photos. Therefore, what's online? Your online's your first showing are going to get more people in the door and sell for a higher amount, right? So why wouldn't you want to put into the work? But you just have to, again, what's in it for me? Buyers are trying to see themselves in any property they visit. They're trying to imagine their wonderful life inside your home. So our goal is to help them prepare our goal is to help them by preparing your house so that nothing distracts them from being able to do this. What is one of those things that we tell sellers to do to depersonalize the home?
Family photos.
Family
Take down
photos.
photos.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a seller. They had their wedding photo. It was a giant canvas right above their bed. As soon as you walk in the master bedroom, it's like right there, right? No judgment. It was very distracting, right? But how do you say that in a way that's very professional, right? Again, these are the scripts right there. If someone can't read between the lines, I don't know how else they would get it. But you can say these things. I just went to a listing appointment and they had family photos and they said, "Do I get rid of these family photos?" I said, "Yeah." They already knew what to do, but I also said they had nothing else on the shelf. I didn't want it to look barren, so I said, "Here's a suggestion. They've got a cute puppy." I said, "Take a picture that you really love of Augie, their puppy." I said, "Put it in one of these frames. Just take out the family photo and put that in there. So when you walk in the door, you've got a little cute puppy picture, right?" Or perhaps you can go to Target and get, some little accessories to put on that side table. So when you take off the frames, you've got something there, right? So again, I'm not a professional stager. I'm not the decorator in my household by any means, but I know, right, that just as much as you want to declutter, you don't want to look empty and sparse. And I always
It's
go back.
okay to have one or two pictures. It's just
It
when you
is.
have a shelf full of pictures.
Yeah, or the wall montage, right, as you're going up the stairs.
So I have a story. I have photos for a condo that I've got coming up at the end of the month. And when I went there a month ago, I learned this term, plant babies. So during COVID, a lot of people, adopted dogs and, took on puppies and all that kind of stuff. Other people went and started growing plants, like from little sprigs
Okay.
and this single engaged girl's house had little pots hanging everywhere and little pots on every shelf with the gangly little sprouts that she was growing roots off of. And they were up on the ledges above the front door. They were everywhere. And I was like, you need to move the plants. It's just like, but
Yeah, you're living in
it's
a
that kind of thing.
You're living in a terrarium.
Terrarium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. And Sharon, if you've developed great rapport off the bat and you've asked questions and you've
You can
been
do
have a
that.
great dialogue, you earn the right to be able to do that, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And when I went for the pictures on Tuesday, the place looked great. I was like,
Awesome. So I
Good job.
gave my most recent listing. I went through the listing presentation, went through the home, and we scheduled photos for Monday. I actually said to them, I said, "Hey, Sunday evening, if you would like, I'll stop by and just give it, just make you feel what I'm really trying to say is I'm going to make you feel good about the work that you've done right before photos." Right. So if there's anything last minute that I have to give you advice on, you're going to have 24 hours to be able to do. And they were like, "Oh my God, that would be great. We've made a ton of progress, but we want you to see it and give us any other suggestions."
And in that same vein, this particular same girl was just overwhelmed by everything that she had to do. And I said, I'm going to touch base with you once a week over the next, because it was like a month. And I would say, "Hey, what kind of projects have you got planned this week? What are you moving out this week to your boyfriend?" And she's like, "Oh, this, and that." I'm like, "You're doing a great job." And I would just touch with her once a week. So she would
Awesome.
because she was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all therapists too.
Yeah, exactly. If you tell your people a list of things to do and you don't follow up with them and then you show up to list the home and they haven't done it, you can't be mad at anyone but yourself. Awesome. So again, these are scripts. These are scripts that you guys use, internalize, and say in order to help prepare the home. It'll only benefit you. I know it seems like this market is crazy right now, and you can list a home that has cat poop all over the floor and it'll still sell. And maybe that's true, but it's not going to be like this already. I'm already seeing some price points, price improvements, homes sitting on the market a little bit longer. I'm not afraid of. I love a balanced market, but all that means is that the home is going to really have to show well. It's not just about price. Condition is important, super important. And if you make these things a part of your scripts and what you say, it's only going to benefit you. Okay. Both now and long term, especially if your focus, you want to be a listing agent, which I know all of you do. Right. So once we agree to work together, I'll advise you on how to properly prepare your home with staging to accomplish this. Does that sound good? I kind of do that while I'm walking through. I do it more seriously after I know that they're working with me though. Go over a list of quick tips to improve the appearance of the home. I know, Emily, you have a list of things like quick things to clean or whatever. Google, Facebook, Pinterest, there's tons of this stuff, guys. Don't reinvent the wheel. Any questions? Okay, great. Let's review my 14-step marketing plan. I don't know what mine is, 13 steps, 12 steps, doesn't matter, but it's got all the things in there that you're going to do, and you're going to talk about that. Why it's important to talk about the marketing steps if they're the type of personality that's buying into it. So I heard a story, I'm going to probably butcher it, but I heard a story that a seller or listing agent went to a home. They breezed through a listing presentation. They were agreeing on price, and they were like, "Great, I got it." And people were like, "You know what? We're going to review one more. We're going to interview one more agent, and we'll let you know." So, okay, whatever. Agent follows up with the sellers. They say, "You know what? We decided to go with someone else," and he's like completely dumbfounded. So, I don't understand. I went through. We seem to have good rapport. You were agreeing on price. What gives? And they were like, "Well, this other agent that we interviewed, they do this really impressive social media campaign. They put it on Facebook. They advertise it to thousands of people. They, blah, 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 blah." And the agent was like scratching their head because he's like, "Well, I do the same thing." And the agent, the client was like, "Oh, well, I mean, we didn't really talk about it, so I didn't know you did, Sharon, have you been the victim of this before?
That was probably me.
Was it you? Maybe it was.
It probably was. Do you remember? So like a year and a half ago, I had a listing, Sphere. The kid played basketball with my daughter. They were selling their in-laws' house because they were ill and they'd moved into some residential place. And I had it all wrapped up. They're like, "Yep, send me the contract. We'll sign everything tonight." And then all of a sudden, a day and a half later, they gave their listing to Perna. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, "What happened?" And they said, "Oh, he's got a $30 million marketing budget, and it goes out to all these websites, and his list to sell ratio is like 99%. I'm thinking, or 98. And I'm like, so's mine. Everything just goes out on websites. He's not doing anything special. It's just not, but it made me sit back and say, I have to say those things out loud.
Yes.
It's not normal for me, believe it or not. I don't know if people would believe this or not. It's not normal for me to like brag about myself. That's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah. And
you have to do it. You have to do
and with
it.
people in your sphere of influence, you have that thought that, "Oh, I don't need to sell them. I just need to tell them what we're going to do, and we're going to do it, and they're going to work with me because," right?
Yep.
So
I told myself I dodged a bullet because it was across the street from the Northville landfill. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
And I was like, it's okay.
So
but anyway,
so talk about all the things that you're going to do, as part of your marketing plan. And again, don't reinvent the wheel, copy it. If there's anything unique that you do, put that on there, right? If you really enjoy door knocking, put that on there, right? Make a joke out of it. Say, all your neighbors are going to know about your house because I make it a point to door knock the neighborhood. Why would I do that? Your neighbors aren't going to buy your house, but they have friends and family that want to be their neighbors. And they're going to be like, "Wow." And that's going to stick with them. And then if they interview another agent, they're going to be like, in their mind, "I'm waiting to hear you say door knock. I'm waiting to hear you say door knock." And then they don't. And they're like, "I'm hiring Matt."
and by that same token, if they've interviewed another agent before you, that other agent might have already said, "Oh, I'm going to door knock," or "I'm going to send out flyers." And they may not ask you, "Well, are you going to door knock?" They're just silently waiting because they're comparing everything you say to what the other person said.
Yeah.
So go over.
I've shared this with you guys before. I highly recommend you watch the YouTube video. It's Ben Kinney's. It's about an hour long. It's his listing presentation. He's delivered it on stage a few times. Ben is an incredible agent, someone I can relate to. He's not super salesy, but he's a good guy, and I just connect with what he says and how he says it. But in his presentation, he talks a little bit about the marketing plan. Is there anything that I have not talked about? Right? Is there anything about my marketing plan that I have not talked about that you think, that you have questions on? Or he establishes everything. Is there anything I haven't talked about? Right? Is there any additional things? Is there, so you have those tie downs as you go along, but watch that. It's on YouTube.
Matt, I'm sorry, what was his last name?
Ben is his first name, Ben Kinney, Kinney. Ben Kinney. Just Google Ben Kinney listing presentation or in search in YouTube. You'll probably find a bunch of them. They're pretty much all the same. But it's phenomenal. Again, pulling out little scripts, little things. I use his talking about his comps. When talking about comps, I use his script that he's taught in that active pending sold. But let's keep breezing through here. We got 15 minutes. You're going to go through all of this stuff, and then you're going to say, so any questions? No? Okay. You're probably interested in what your house is worth, right? This is where the comps come into play, and you go over that, right? Until then, I don't want you talking about price. I don't want you talking about those things. You don't send a CMA ahead of time. They don't know what they're looking at. They're going to do their own research, and I think that you should know that. They're going to look at Zillow. So when you're doing your CMA, mentally note what Zillow is. Maybe even print out that sheet and bring it. You may be prepared to help you or hurt you, but you need to know that ahead of time, right? Because you know that they're looking at it. Also, Realtor.com, Redfin, they all have their little automated valuation models. So know what those are. If they're all over the place, use that as a selling point. Say they're all over the place. See, but know what they are, because you should know that the clients are looking at those. Most clients are. The price of your home is determined by the market. It's not my opinion. When we say broker opinion of value, it's not my opinion. That is what buyers are actually offering and competing sellers are accepting based on recently sold properties. I always tell them, this is the script I learned from Ben. We're going to go over active pendings and solds. And when I say actives, pendings, and solds, actives also mean coming soons. Pendings also mean accepting backup offers or CCS, but actives, pendings, and solds. Mr. Seller, actives are what our competition will be if we went on the market today. There are other homes that are available for sale. Pendings are properties that have beat us to a contract. What do I mean by that is they've gone on the market before us and they've already gone under contract. They've already secured a buyer. Those are going to be important for us to take a look at because they have not closed yet. So we don't know the price or the terms by what they're sold, but we'll take a look at them. However, they are an indicator of what's going to happen next, which is the solds. And Mr. Seller, the solds are the most important. Why? Because they are what other agents, buyers, and appraisers are going to use to justify our list price. Okay, so actives are our competition if we hit the market today. Pendings are properties that have beat us to a contract. Solds are properties that other agents, buyers, and appraisers are going to use to justify our list price. And we're going to go over those. If it's a seller's market, what's a seller's market, guys? The general definition of a seller's market?
Sellers are dictating the terms based on what they feel their house is worth, and there are more sellers with properties than there are buyers.
No, you got the first part right. The second part right. There's more buyers than there are sellers.
That's what I meant to say.
Okay, no, it's okay. So it favors, the market favors sellers, and we always use a days on market or absorption rate, right? Does anyone know what absorption rate is? Think of the market like a sponge, right? And houses are like water, and so that's probably a convoluted definition, but if no other homes went on the market today, how long would it take for all the homes that are active to be sold, to be soaked up by the market? So in other words, if there is 10 houses on the market, right? And there are 2 that are sold per month, how many months will it take till there's no more homes on the market? 5. Okay. Sorry, I got a dog barking because my kids are home for a half day. So the number of months of inventory is what the definition is. Hey, real professional, huh, guys? If a seller's market is defined typically less than 6 months of inventory or supply, rather. Buyer's market more than 6 months. Does anybody know the average? How many months of inventory are we sitting around right now overall? It's different in hyperlocal markets, but overall, approximately what are we sitting on right now?
Isn't it like less than 3 weeks of inventory right now?
I thought it was like
gonna say 3
1.4.
weeks.
Yeah, I think it's less than 2 months overall. I would say based on where I'm at, it's less than 30 days. It's less than 1 month of inventory. It's very tight.
Mhm.
So in other words, very favorable to sellers, right? Because there's more buyers out there looking than their homes are available, and that the homes that do go on the market are selling in less than a month.
Excuse me, good morning.
Yes,
guys. Are we saying for the whole MLS?
that's a great question, Hope. And when I'm doing comps, I'm going to start by showing them what's going on in maybe in their general area, like the county, right? I start kind of wide, right? Before I go into what's happening in their neighborhood, I like to show them the general MLS is this, the general area that you're at here, and then the neighborhood you're in here,
Okay.
right? I'm not showing them, if I'm doing a CMA in Royal Oak, I'm not showing them comps in Madison Heights, but I am going to tell them what's going on, like let's say in the Woodward corridor or Oakland
Okay.
County, that kind of thing, right?
Or maybe a price point, everything that's between
Exactly.
3 and 5 is whatever.
All right.
Exactly. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So if it's a buyer's market, if it's a seller's market, be able to define that, and don't assume people know, right? Not everyone knows. We know all these terms. People say days on market. We say CMA. We say all of these things. Remember, guys, clients, they're not going to raise their hand always and say, Matt, slow down. I don't know what you mean. Right. So I always make it a point to say, does that make sense? Or do you understand? Or can I explain that better? Right. Not in a way that's demeaning, but it's recognizing that I live in this stuff day to day. You don't. So I don't expect you to know all of this stuff. And I want to make sure that you do understand it.
Yeah, you can just easily say, are you familiar with the term
Yes.
absorption or
Yep.
whatever?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. Easy.
And then this line, many sellers make the mistake of pricing their homes. You may have even noticed some of your neighbors make those mistakes in the past. Why are homes not selling? If the average is 10 days on the market and this house takes 30, why is that? What factors into that? Well, a lot of it's condition, but much of it is price, right? Even in a seller's market. This is important, guys, because what are we conditioned sellers to think recently? That they can list for whatever they want because people are offering it. I heard so-and-so sold for over, and the buyer had to bring cash, or they guaranteed the appraisal, or this and that. So people, this is the problem of this market. It's just you get greedy and you selfish. I get it. Like, I'm thinking about it too. In my house, like, ooh, how much could I get? My house is special.
But the past few
And-
days, there's been over 150 price decreases each day.
I was gonna say, even the past, I would say 3 weeks, 4 weeks. What we see on the ground is not what the general public hears on Facebook and on the news. It's all delayed. We know what's going on right now.
It's just like the prospecting you do today. It's going to show up in 30, 60, 90 days. What's going on right now isn't public yet, right? It's if you went into a listing presentation with the seller today, Kim, and they were like, my neighbor just sold. Yes, he just sold. He just closed. He listed in April, right? This market is different now than it was in April. And let me show you why, right? It's much easier to present this information, to educate them, than to combat them after they say, nope, my house is worth more, and you're backpedaling. Okay. But smart sellers understand price is determined by the market. This is a little bit of a jab. When you say that, and then they say something else, they're saying that they're not smart, right? And in the market, what does the market mean? Well, the market means that it's the data of the information that I'm going to share with you. It's not my opinion, right? It's my job. I don't determine value. I present the data and we interpret it together. Okay. And then you go over the comps, and you go over a CMA that you've done. I'm going to keep breezing through this. A CMA and the way you present a CMA could be a whole class, right? We've done the CMA. Actually going over it probably would be beneficial to a lot of you guys, actually explaining it, right? Right? Okay, good.
Yes, I think so.
It's also super important for you guys to know and this I've made the mistake of this too, and I'm going through. I'm especially if I'm in a rush. I'm looking at active pending sold, boop, and then I didn't do what? I didn't look at any FSBOs. I didn't drive the neighborhood ahead of time to see if there's any signs in the yard, and I did not look at any withdrawals. This is a huge one. It's going to be even bigger shortly, guys. What do I mean by that? They're going to point out to you, well, Matt, your list of active pendings and sold doesn't include my neighbor down the street. He listed for 400. He did actually. I have it right here. And I don't know if you know this or not, but they left the market after 3 weeks with no accepted offers. So yes, he priced it at 400, but he didn't get 400. In fact, they left the market. Right. So it's important for you to know the expireds and withdrawals too. We haven't had a lot of those lately, right? Anything that goes on the market gets sold, but you need to understand those. You need to be proactive. You need to say, let's not make the mistake that other people have made. Conversely, when you're looking at actives, if you're looking at actives that have been on the market for 30 days, right, that look better than yours, you need to be able to explain to your seller, we don't need to experiment with the market. This house already did. And this house did us the favor of showing us how buyers received this in this market today, right?
So do we have data for people who, FSBOs who enter the market, but they are not on the MLS?
Oh, you don't necessarily have when data, it's not going to be in the MLS, but you're looking at ForSaleByOwner.com. You're looking at Zillow. You're just looking for signs in the yard. And if so, give them a call. Maybe they're not on a website and you can talk about that, how they're not selling because they're not getting exposure, right? So before I do a listing appointment, I'm doing all of that as part of my due diligence. But you might have to do some digging, Marcia, but that's part of your job. And again, I've gone through situations where I've been rushed and I walk into a listing appointment and I'm not prepared and it showed. And then they asked questions because I had an engineer who was super knowledgeable, had his own spreadsheet valuation. And I was like, I look like an idiot. So don't make those same mistakes we've made. And sometimes you get there and it's, this is completely different than what I expected. And you present to them comps and you say, you know what, I got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. I've learned a lot about your house by being here. I'd like to go back and spend a little bit more time because it's really important to me that I give you a really good suggested list price because success is important and pricing it right out of the gate is super important. I've been humble enough to say that I need to go, back to the drawing board, or that we put a tentative price in the listing agreement to get that signed. But we keep an eye on it because guess what? Especially if we sign a listing agreement that we're not going to list for like a month, between now and then, there's properties that are pending that are going to sell that can drastically affect our price. They weren't relevant at that moment. We had that appointment, but they're going to be important, right? Okay, guys, you're going to go through the pricing. You're going to reaffirm all that stuff. And then you're going to have the listing agreement. This is to each his own, how you handle this, but I bring, just like on a buyer's presentation, I'm going to bring all of the paperwork, not necessarily to have them sign it, except a buyer agency contract, but I'm going to show them everything because I'm going to say, this is what we're going to sign when we find your property. This is what the contract looks like. We're going to fill in these forms kind of thing. I do the same on the listing presentation. I am not a hard-nosed person that says, I got to get this signed before I walk away. Oftentimes I actually leave it. I go over it kind of briefly. I leave it for them to review. And I say, I'm going to send this to you electronically. But not always. I don't know, Sharon, what do you do or what you've found to be successful?
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big hard pusher either necessarily. And I think that if I give someone the respect of thinking it over, because I'm confident, if I put on the air that I'm confident enough that they are going to go with me, and I'm simply respecting their time to digest it, I think that is in my favor. It doesn't always work, but I'll bet that if I would have tried to push them to sign, they wouldn't have done that either.
Agreed.
Right? If you're not going to get it, you're not going to get it.
Agreed. Yep. And if they're gung ho, ready to go, let's do this.
Yep.
So I have it with me. Nothing worse than someone who's like, okay, where do I sign? And I don't have anything to sign.
Right. I'd put TBD on prices
Sure.
a lot. Like, we'll figure it out later, because especially in this last market, the past few months, things change.
Why is that important? Well, guess what? As soon as someone's made the decision to list their home, they're going to start talking about it to everyone. And if they've not signed anything with you, inevitably their mother's cousin's friend is looking for a house and they're going to reach out to them. And all of a sudden they do this side deal. And then you call to follow up and say, hey, we're ready to take photos. And they're saying, I found a buyer.
Or
You're SOL.
it's, oh, my niece's sister-in-law just got her license and I want to try and help her out and, give her a leg up. And you're like, what?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's okay to sign a listing agreement without a price. It's okay to have a listing agreement with an open-end time frame, right? There's the effective date and then the date by which it's going to go live. That can still be TBD. Okay.
Can you sign with a price and then adjust the price?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
But then do they need to just signature that original form? If the TBD
No, I haven't. I mean, you could revise it. I usually keep everything in writing. I don't know. It's probably a little bit of a gray area. You probably should have something signed, like an addendum signed that just says this is addendum to the buy-sell contract, blah, but for me, just saying, hey, we can change it. 99% of the time we don't, but just saying that, it's like, oh, okay. I'm putting you at ease, right?
Question. So how long do you typically wait? Because I was what you just described. I have a buyer that said, okay, let's go. And then they said, okay, we just want to read everything and we'll get back to you. How long do you wait? They're using my contractor. They're following all the recommendations that I made. They hired the guy to actually come in and fix. How long should I wait now?
Well, you just said buyer. Did you mean to say seller?
Myself.
Yeah.
They're both. They're both.
Yep. No. Sandy said something yesterday that I kind of stuck with me. Said, listen, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to present information, but I can't give you advice. I can't be a fiduciary to you until you sign and we're in agreement with each other. Right. And I kind of been thinking about that. So it's like, if I start providing you context with trades, giving you advice on what to do, talking in depth about pricing, I want an agreement signed that is that you're vested in me and I'm vested in you, right? Mm-hmm. If it's someone who's not sure if they're going to sell or not, or they're thinking it over, I mean, everybody's a little bit different. I'm going to certainly follow up with them in short order, right? And I'm going to ask them, hey, it's okay to have more questions, and I'm happy to answer those. Do you have any apprehensions? Is there anything holding you back? Is your alternative, and again, at the beginning of this, we talked about, is the alternative is that you're going to use another agent or that you're simply just going to decide not to sell? If they're saying, I'm thinking about using another agent, well, there's an opportunity to overcome an objection that they might have. If they say we might decide to stay, then it's an opportunity to talk about their why and go back to revisit their motivation.
Their objection was not giving any commission to the buyer's agent.
Well, we have an office policy that we offer a commission up to the buyer's agent. And in fact, it's going to be very challenging in this market to not offer up a commission and secure a buyer for the most amount of money. Let me show you how, at the end of the day, as a seller, it's going to make the most sense for you than what you net, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be focused on the fees per se. It's important about what you net, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you paid 10% commission. If you can net more money, that would make the most sense, right? Let me go over that again with you to make sure that you understand. That's where a seller's net sheet comes into play. But yeah, no, I mean, I would actually, my first response with that, if the seller said that to me, I would say, I would do that. Not offer a commission to a buyer's agent. Mm-hmm. Just be dumbfounded, right? Is this like, the dog that just heard a noise, and just try to get out of them. Like, tell me more about that. What, like I had sidebar, very close friend, property I just closed a couple weeks ago. I sent him the listing paperwork. He's like a VP at Fifth Third Bank in finance, super smart guy. He goes, I'm not paying 6% to sell my home. I said, what? Tell me more. What do you mean? Well, I thought I was just hiring you to sell my home. Why am I paying the other agent? So you just need clarification on what the costs and the fees are. Yes. I said, okay, let me talk about the house you're buying, just so you know, the seller is paying that real estate agent commission, right? As a seller, you pay both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. It's like, okay, so I'm not paying it on my house, and then I'm also paying it on the house I'm buying. No. You're just paying it on the house you're selling. So it wasn't an objection per se. It was an opportunity for clarification, right? So if I went to a whole spiel of why I justify 6%, thinking he was arguing 6%, I would have gone down a completely different path than just trying to uncover the root objection, which is he just didn't understand who paid commissions. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. I just said to her that that 3% is what incentivizes the buyer's agents to show your listing on the MLS. It's a big marketplace, and in order for them to take interest in your property, they need to get something.
Most qualified buyers are working with a real estate agent to help them find their new home. And buyers agents get paid a commission from a seller to bring them a ready, willing, and able buyer. So if as a listing is not offering a commission, it's not going to get shown, it's not going to get sold. And you're looking for a very small part of the market, which is buyers that are unrepresented, ultimately it's going to net you less money. So as I can totally respect the fact that you're focused on saving money, but let's focus on your net, not what fees you're paying.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you. Did your Bluetooth die? I can hear you now.
Oh, can you?
Yep.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is what you can add to what Matt was saying about, qualified buyers are with agents and blah, blah, blah. You can say, and we know this statistically so much so that we have an office policy that only offers 3% to buyers agents. We will not offer less than that because we know that it puts you at a disadvantage, because if there are two homes that a buyer's looking at and one of them, the agent knows he's only going to get paid 2.5, he's going to go show the 3% and he's going to push for that one first. Because I want you to cut off him saying, well, then I'll save money by chopping my percentage, my commission somehow. I don't want him to come back and ask you for a cut.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
So I'm going to end right there. And because I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I'm going to see, do you have any questions based on everything we kind of breezed through, or anything that you're uncertain of, or anything that you think we could go into in more depth at a different time?
Hey,
So
Matt.
I know this is a lot. Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say this was awesome. Very helpful. Thank you.
Good.
And secondly, you mentioned active. I didn't get it all. So activist competition. Could you please repeat what the solds and what the pendings were?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a script I use. Actives are the homes that are going to be our competition if we went on the market today. Okay. Pendings are properties that have gone on the market, beat us to a contract, meaning they've gone under contract, but they have not closed yet. We're going to have to keep an eye on those because they may close before we go on the market or while we go on the market. And then the most important is for us to look at the sold comparables. And the sold homes are the properties that have gone on the market, gone under contract, and closed. And those are what other agents, buyers, and appraisers are going to use to justify our list price.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Matt, quickly,
Yes,
were you going to do the net seller sheet, or is that later on in the presentation?
Thank you. That's what I wanted to see.
I don't typically do a seller's net sheet at a listing presentation. Doesn't mean I haven't, but I don't typically do it. So I'm going to do a list. Personally, I do a seller's net sheet when we accept an offer. So when I send the offer to the seller to accept, I'm going to send them a seller's net sheet at that time, so they understand that offer that they're accepting and what it's going to mean in terms of a net to them. Okay. because the net sheet is going to have a closing date. It's going to have whether they've agreed to pay a home warranty or not. It's going to have all of those things on it. Doesn't mean you can't do a seller's net sheet when you list. You just have to know it's going to be subject to change based on the offer that you accept. But I do it through the Legacy Title app thing. Legacy Title is my title company, so I do it through the thing. Makes it super easy. I know Pete does it old school way, calculating the stuff. If you want on the fly to do a fast like rule of thumb, in my opinion, it works often. It's about 1.25% of closing costs and transfer tax and expenses on the sell side, plus 6% commission. So 7.25% is a rough. And I would challenge you to maybe do a seller's net sheet and see how close you come. Right. So in other words, if you were to sell a property at $200,000, $200,000, and then I would multiply 9275. What I'm trying to find is I said 7.25%. So what I'm really doing is 92.75% of the sales price. And then I'm using that, and then minus whatever they owe in their mortgage. So I'm $200,000. If I'm going to do 0.0725, it's roughly $14,500 in commissions and closing costs to sell your property. So in other words, you're going to net $285,500, or $285,500. And then from there, back out the amount that you're going to pay or that you owe, right? So remember, fees and commissions come out of the percentage of the gross and then their mortgage payouts. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you're doing a seller's net sheet, it's important to ask them what they owe in the home. Like actually go in and just note that if they go in, they log into their mortgage website where they pay their mortgage, it says 192. Their final payoff might be different than 192, right? Depending on what day they close and whatever. So you have to understand there's a little bit of grace in there. In addition, and I've had this happen, people didn't tell me that they had a second mortgage. So what they thought they were going to be walking away with 50 grand, they forgot they had this equity line that they used of another 30. And guess what? If you're working hard on getting a listing with the premise that they're netting a certain amount of money in order to buy later on, and at the 11th hour, they find that they're not netting what they're going to want to, they're going to want to blow up the whole damn deal. So just ask these hard questions ahead of time. It'll make your life a lot easier. And its script goes something like this. Mr. Seller, sometimes when I'm talking about what is owed on a home, a seller, is forgetful of an equity line or a second mortgage that they may have taken out on the home, or that it's not even top of mind. So just to clarify, is this the one and only mortgage you have on the property at this moment?
I had a situation where there was a second taken out and the wife didn't know.
Ooh, someone's
Talk
got a
about
gambling problem.
sweating bullets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I'll let you guys talk and get back to me later.
There's
Did
also
they
like
sell? Did
Yes,
they end up
did.
selling?
They did.
Probably got a divorce too.
No, but anyway. Go
So
ahead,
do
Sarah.
you advise them to call their lender just to double check what that final?
So what I'm going to do is just ask that they're going to say a loan balance on when they log in. Let's just use that for the seller's net sheet. When we actually get you under contract, the title company, after we have a closing date, the title company is going to send a formal request to your lender for a final payoff as of this date. They're probably going to overestimate it a little bit just to cover a few days of interest. So there be an overage a little bit, but they're going to finalize what's due then. So don't worry about it. You're going to make your payment between now and the time we close. Continue to do that. The title company will sort out that. Very rarely are we ever going to have a higher payoff than what the actual is. Now, that's outside of what you escrow. So if you have an escrow account, in other words, if each month in your mortgage you pay a little bit extra for taxes and a little bit extra for insurance, and we sell your property, they pay off the loan, and you've got an outstanding escrow balance there, the mortgage company is going to refund that to you after closing and a check in the mail. Okay. All right, guys. I'm glad to hear that this was helpful. We're always looking to give you guys pertinent value and what's going on in your business. I know we have some newer people coming in, some older people kind of graduating out. I'm happy to see both old and new faces, and that we're constantly giving some sort of perspective. I know that's why I keep going to those conferences and things. I might hear the same thing over and over again, but it hits me a little bit differently each time. So if you ever have anything that you think is pertinent to the group or yourself, don't be hesitate to reach out to us. I've got a special guest lined up for next Thursday.
Ooh.
Dean Gazowski is a member of the MREI, Michigan Real Estate Investors Group, whatever. He's an agent in our office, as well as a flipper, investor, and agent himself. He's going to talk to us from the perspective of an investor. So I'm going to give you guys some scripts, some things to look for. Just think tactical tools, put in your tool belt from an investor standpoint. So when you're talking with clients, you can kind of talk their talk, speak their speak, and I think it'll be good. Dean's an interesting guy, but he's going to join us in person. So we're going to still do Zoom, but he's the type of guy who likes being in person. So we're going to be in the cafe next Thursday at 11. You're more than welcome to join us via Zoom. But if you can make it, awesome, be there.
I'll try to be there. Is he associated with Wendy at all? I know she does.
Yes. Yep. Cool. He's actually one of the MREI coaches. So in addition to this, he coaches agents to do the investing side on it, just kind of like Sharon and I do for retail side. Also, last thing I want to say is that next Wednesday is a panel that I'm hosting as part of being on the education committee. I would really, really, really appreciate if all my coaching people would be there. It should be a really good group. I've got 3 guests coming to speak. They're agents from different market centers. So it's different stuff. All of them have been in the business for less than 6 years and are crushing it. And we're going to talk about how they got there. Ashley Jolly is a agent with Century 21, Kern and Christie. What I really love about Ashley, she's only been in the business 3 years. She lived in Grosse Pointe. She moved to Northville a year ago, had to basically reestablish her business here, build her sphere from scratch. And she is self-admittedly an introvert. So what she's done to build that has been very successful. I have a lot of respect for her. She's a mom of 2 young kids too. Caitlin Pengrazi, an agent from KW Domain. She works the Woodward corridor. She's been in business for 5 years, now has a team and is crushing it. She's out of KW Domain in Birmingham. Bill Maniasi is our 3rd panelist. He is out of KW Livingston. Bill is big on his sphere in providing value to people in his network. Partner referrals of what, trades, those kinds of things. That's how he's built his business, by being a connector, right? He's also on a team. So he's not a team leader. He's not a solo agent. He's on a team. So there's pros and cons to that. So he'll talk about a little bit about that. But he's crushing it, and he's all about life by design. He's got a pretty enviable, he works hard, but he plays hard. And I'm excited to have all 3 of them on. So if you're sick of hearing from everyone from our office, it's good to get some outside perspective.
What day is that again?
It's Wednesday. The panel's going to start. It's technically 9:30, 9 o'clock. We're going to open up for breakfast. Silverline's bringing in some continental breakfast. It's going to be on the 4th floor. So it's going to be more space than we even had at the diversity event. So if it'll be socially distanced, if you're comfortable, feel free to wear a mask, but it's not going to be on Zoom. So you got to be here. And in order to be here, you got to register via the Eventbrite. So we need an accurate head count. So please do that if you would like to be there.
Now,
be there.
you posted that on the Facebook page for just KW, right?
Yeah, but it is also open to anyone and everyone. So if it's a recruiting tool, a guest, you got anyone that you know at other brokerages, feel free, spread it. It's not just a KW thing. So more agents to attend, the better. I think it'll be awesome.
So
Okay,
Matt,
yes, ma'am.
the event that's the 23rd, right?
Correct. Wednesday, the 23rd. It's from 9 to 11.
Okay. And you said we can bring like other guests or people who are thinking about joining real estate or KW.
agents that are with another brokerage currently or someone who's looking to get licensed, by all means, yes. That's
Okay.
one thing, guys. It's very rare that we ever have an event or a training thing that is closed. We are open pretty much, to everyone. We're not exclusive, but it is a great opportunity without even saying recruiting to say, hey, we've got this great event going on. I'd love to include you as my guest. Can I send you a link if you register? Come on with me, or meet me there. It's going to be, it's going to be really good. So.
Okay. And you did say it was free food, right? I'm just
I
checking.
don't know how elaborate Silverline's going to get with it, but yes, I don't expect an omelet station, but yes, there'll be food.
No, I'm just down for free food. You say free food and I'm there. I'm just
Okay,
checking.
Andrea. All right, guys.
Okay.
Have a great weekend. Let me know if you need anything. I'm going on some appointments, and I will. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Everybody, good fortune, good
Thank
weekend.
you. Bye.